A huge winter storm is coming to the United States this weekend, and this is going to cause major problems, including the risk for heavy snowfall that could lead to as much as 12 to 20 inches of snow anywhere from the Central Plains back into the Midwest and the Ohio Valley. In addition to that, this will bring a big-time ice storm, which could lead to widespread power outages and as well as extreme travel impacts. And we'll also be talking about the threat for severe weather on Sunday with this storm. Lastly, we are also going to be talking about the potential for another winter storm mid to late next week, which could impact areas as far south as southern Texas and perhaps near the Gulf Coast, and why we think there's actually a chance that could happen. So in today's forecast, we're going to break down exactly what you need to know about the weather that'll be impacting the United States over the next 7 days, and we'll begin with what's happening across the country this morning. And for the time being, things are for the most part quiet across the country. Back over in the Great Lakes, we are continuing to see big time lake effect snow near Lake Ontario and as well as Lake Erie, and this will continue for the next 48 hours until our winter storm comes off the Pacific Ocean. We are currently watching our system that is going to be bringing all this snow and ice, which is just west of Washington and Oregon this morning, and eventually as we go later into today, this will enter into the west coast of the United States, and then by overnight tonight into tomorrow morning, it'll be moving over the Rocky Mountains, and then eventually things are going to get very rough across the Central Plains by late tomorrow morning. Now, this is the latest from the National Weather Service. We do have winter storm watches that have been issued anywhere from central and eastern Kansas back throughout parts of Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, and Kentucky, and later today this will continue to expand further to the east into areas like Ohio and as well as eastern Kentucky. The purple boxes are your winter weather advisories, which are in effect for parts of western Kansas back into Ohio and Pennsylvania, and also back over near Washington, D.C., where there will be a few inches of snow this morning into the early afternoon as a quick little clipper system will move through those areas. So let's dive more into what's going to be happening over the next few days, beginning with what's happening today. As mentioned just a moment ago, there will be some snow falling back over in the northeast and the eastern Ohio Valley throughout the day today. Overall, this is going to just be passing snow showers, maybe even a couple of snow squalls, which means reduced visibility for a brief amount of time will be a possibility. Eventually, as we go into tomorrow morning, that is when the beginning of this winter storm will start across areas like the Central Plains. We are going to start to see some freezing rain falling just after sunrise across parts of Kansas, so any untreated roadways are going to be slick as early as tomorrow morning in Kansas. By lunchtime, this starts to ramp up a little bit more, but again, notice how it's just light freezing rain and light snow across much of the central and northern plains, and overall, this is mostly scattered at this point. It becomes a lot more widespread just after sunset. It will remain light in terms of snowfall and as well as freezing rain through about sunset, and then eventually it's going to become a lot heavier as we go into the overnight hours, Saturday night into Sunday morning. And notice how this just becomes a big mess across the central and southern plains, where we're going to be dealing with 4 different things across the board. The first of which being the threat for severe weather. That's going to be mostly during the afternoon hours on Sunday across the lower Mississippi Valley with damaging winds, hail, and a few tornadoes. The second thing will be right here in the middle, including the threat for freezing rain, which will lead to ice accumulation, and this is where we expect the most significant ice accumulation to occur. The third of which being the threat for sleet and also some snow being mixed in on the northern side of this low pressure system, and then purely wet snow back over on the far northern side of this trough. So a lot of stuff is going to be happening here as we go throughout the day Sunday. Eventually, as we get closer to lunchtime on Sunday, we're going to be watching the threat for severe weather really ramp up across areas in Arkansas and Louisiana, and freezing rain is just going to be north of that, where significant ice accumulation will be possible in Missouri and Kentucky. Heavy snow will be falling anywhere from Kansas back even into northern Kentucky and as well as parts of Ohio and Indiana. And eventually, as we get closer to dinner time, that threat for severe weather will continue in the Dixie Alley, mostly with the wind threat, but if there's any prefrontal convection, that could lead to an isolated strong tornado. And then back through Missouri and also into Indiana, that's where we're dealing with some heavy snowfall. The freezing rain line is going to continue to lift to the north as warm air is going to be lifting basically out of the Gulf of Mexico. So overall, the snow and freezing rain lines will start to lift a bit further off to the north as we go into Sunday night. And eventually by Monday morning, heavy snow is falling across Illinois and basically the entire state, also back through Ohio and as well as Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and also back through Maryland. And then a little bit of freezing rain will be possible, and that could lead to a glazing or maybe up to a 1/10 of an inch of ice back over in areas like Virginia and maybe even back over near Maryland before the snow is winding down eventually by Monday night. Now, before we go further into this forecast, I just want to remind you, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe down below. We'll have daily updates covering this winter storm, and we'll probably be live on Sunday covering this with several storm chasers in the field, and we may do a Q&A live stream tomorrow night talking more about this. So make sure to subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon so you're notified when we do go live and with our latest video updates. Now, this winter storm is going to bring the potential for some significant winter storm impacts, and this is the latest from the Weather Prediction Center. As we go into Sunday, they currently have major travel impacts and also major impacts in general, including the potential for some numerous to widespread power outages being a possibility anywhere from Kansas City back into St. Louis. The orange area is going to represent the moderate risk, and then also a minor risk anywhere in the yellow shaded area. But keep in mind, no matter what area you are in, if there are any untreated roadways, it will be slick out there. So if you have any intention of traveling on Sunday or Monday, which I don't personally recommend if you're going to see ice accumulation, make sure that you are taking it very slow on the roadways. Now, in terms of how much snow this winter storm is going to bring, this is the latest from the European model, and I honestly think this is still underestimating how much snow we could see. Right now, indicating the greatest amount of snow in the central plains being near Kansas City and just outside of that, where there could be some spots between 8 to 12 inches of snow and a few isolated locations as high as 16 inches of snowfall. I think northern Missouri is going to be a bit higher than this. I think overall the general idea here is that we're going to probably see at least 6 to 10 inches of snow, but I think there will be several areas that actually get well over that, closer to like 12 to 14 inches of snow. So overall, definitely expecting some significant snow accumulation there. Right further down to the south into southeast Kansas and southern Missouri, this is basically the quote-unquote battleground where we're going to have both ice and as well as snow. So it's just going to be a messy basically situation in those areas where we're dealing with several different impacts all at the same time. Further to the east, this is a different model, so keep in mind areas like northern Missouri actually have higher totals on this one compared to the European model, but I think this gives us a pretty accurate representation at least of around where we're going to see snow accumulation. So overall, across parts of Illinois, Indiana, and as well as Ohio, I think a widespread 5 to 10 inches of snow is definitely going to happen. I think back over in central Illinois, that's going to be our jackpot area in my opinion. I think these areas will see between 10 to 15 inches of snowfall, maybe a couple of spots getting closer to 18 inches of snow, and then back over in the Appalachian Mountains, that'll also be technically a jackpot because it's more of a mountainous region. They're definitely going to see a lot more snowfall in those areas. And then overall, this is again where we're seeing the main concern being ice, but there will also be some snow mixing in there anywhere across Kentucky and also back through parts of Missouri. Here are the probabilities for seeing greater than 1/10 of an inch of freezing rain in a 24-hour period as we go into Sunday and as well as into Monday. Again, notice how the probabilities are well over 90% now for almost all of Kentucky, back into southeastern Missouri and also southern Illinois. Again, we think there's going to be a big time ice storm here, which is unfortunately going to lead to the threat for some numerous to even in cases widespread power outages due to ice accumulation, and also the threat for some major travel impacts that could last for a few days here. So in terms of total ice accumulation, this is the latest in terms of our thinking here. This is again the European model, indicating that we're going to likely see a pretty large swath here of over 1/4 of an inch of ice across central and eastern Kansas back into southern parts of Missouri, and this also extends as far east as areas like Kentucky, Virginia, and even into North Carolina. And there's also a chance that we see a glazing to 1/10 of an inch of ice just outside of Nashville, back over in parts of northern and eastern Tennessee. Notice again, even in parts of Kentucky, almost all of Kentucky is going to be dealing with some level of ice accumulation. So again, any untreated roadways are going to be dangerous and slick. So make sure if you're traveling at all on Sunday or Monday that you're taking it slow on the roadways. But again, now is the time to prepare for this winter storm. We are expecting again some major impacts over the next few days. Again, today's basically the last day. If you're back over in the Ohio Valley, you also have Saturday. So if you need any sort of preparations done, again, make sure you're getting them done as soon as possible. And again, we're probably going to be live covering this on the channel, so make sure you subscribe down below and click the bell icon so you're notified when we do go live for this event. Now, in terms of what we're going to be seeing beyond this winter storm, we are going to have the potential into the middle of next week for some sort of winter weather event back over in areas like Texas and along the Gulf Coast. I would say right now there's about a 30% confidence that this will actually happen. What's going to be contingent on this happening is that we get some sort of basically moisture transport out of the Pacific Ocean. If that ends up happening, we are going to have the threat here for some sort of winter storm that's capable of snow and as well as ice accumulation. Now, keep in mind, a winter storm in Texas is not the same as the Central Plains. A winter storm criteria is like 2 to 4 inches of snow. It's not much. So I definitely think this is a possibility, but again, the computer models are still varying a little bit, and the timing is crucial because the European model is 2 days later showing the same sort of system, but it's all rain by that point because the temperatures will be warming up by the tail end of next week. So the timing is crucial as well, but right now the GFS model is indicating potentially some sort of big time event in Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, and perhaps as far east as areas like Florida, with freezing rain near the Gulf Coast and snow a bit further inland. And again, there's definitely some time, so there could could definitely be some changes here, but keep in mind, this is only about, 6, maybe 7 days away, maybe even about 5 days away. So, we're getting a bit closer to this. There's definitely going to be some increasing confidence if the models continue to show this even into tomorrow. So again, we'll keep you posted with the latest. We'll have another video update later today on the channel. We'll have another one tomorrow morning. So just make sure you're subscribed to the channel, and we'll post more updates on that if it does end up materializing. And then beyond this, things do look relatively uncertain as we get closer to the middle of January. And lastly, as we go into next Thursday morning, we're going to be talking about the potential for temperatures as much as 30 to 40 degrees below average across areas in the Midwest and as well as the Ohio Valley. So have your winter jacket ready to go, and make sure to subscribe to the channel. We'll keep you posted with the latest on the winter storm threat and also the brutal cold that we'll be talking about here for the next few weeks.